There were numerous fantastic play performances from this past A-League season, so let's go through and select my A-League team of the season for 22-23. Hey guys, my name's Lockie and this is Coast Watch Football, where we talk all things A-Leagues in Australian football. Let's jump into the team right now. Starting in the goalkeeper position, I'm going for Lawrence Thomas from Western Sydney Wanderers. A fantastic campaign from the Wanderers keeper, returning to the A-League, of course, the former Melbourne Victory keeper, back in Australia, and was a fantastic signing for the Wanderers. He had an awesome impact leading from the back, making a number of incredible saves. And, you know, the Wanderers had the best defense in the league this season. And it wasn't just from Thomas, it was that backline too, with Tommy Michela and Marcelo in there as well. But Lawrence Thomas was fantastic at the back there for the Wanderers. A number of goalkeepers that we could have seen, you know, selected in the team of the season. And I've got a bench coming up, so I haven't named my second best keeper for the season on the bench, which you'll have to wait till the end of the video for that one. But for me, goalkeeper of the season, Lawrence Thomas. Time to jump into my defense now. And in terms of formation, we could, you know, shuffle things around, go for a back three to allow us to pick more attackers. But I wanted to stick to a traditional 4-4-2. And at right back, I've gone for Josh Risdon from Western United, which might come as a surprise to some people, but he flew under the radar, Josh Risdon, this season. Western United, you know, were struggling for much of this season. They ended up finishing 7th, which was all right. But one player who consistently performs week in and week out and puts in such a massive shift is Josh Risdon, the former Socceroo, super consistent at right back for Western United. And simply that right back position, there weren't too many players who were an absolute standout. You think of the teams towards the top of the ladder. I mean, Storm Roo, Callum Talbot, these guys, good right backs. Yavi Lopez, you could throw him in there as well. But none of them really sort of, you know, absolutely stood out. So for me, I'm going for Josh Risdon, who performed really, really well in a team in their defense that was struggling for much of this season. There are plenty of options when it comes to the centre-back position. There were some superb defensive performances from defenders this year. I've gone for Tommy Michela from Western Sydney Wanderers as my first centre-back. Massive season from the defender. His partnership with Marcelo was superb. Made some incredible goal-saving clearances and tackles throughout the year for Wanderers, and of course part of that best defence in the league this season for Western Sydney. And alongside him, I've gone for Brian Kaltak, the Vanuatu central defender. Absolutely incredible this season, considering this was his first season in professional football. The Central Coast centre-back, of course, winning the championship with his club. Absolutely massive season. His pace, the way he reads the game, his ability to get back and make crucial tackles at the death. And, you know, yes, he did pick up a handful of red cards this season, which dampened things a little bit. But for me, just an incredibly reliable central defender, Kaltak, slots into my defense. And then left back is probably the easiest position to pick in this whole team of the season. Geordie Boss. It has to be. It has to be Geordie Boss for everyone when it comes to the left back position. Incredible campaign from Geordie Boss. One of the most exciting players for me, young players who have come through the A-League in its history. Geordie Boss was a consistent performer week in, week out, chipped in with a few goals here and there as well. Just always a menace down that left-hand side for Melbourne City, and has well-deserved, you know, secured a move over to Europe, which is well-deserved for Geordie Boss. Has to be at left back. Easy. Time to jump into the midfield now, starting on the right-hand side, and I'm shifting Brandon Borrello out there. So he did start the campaign in that wide position, but of course played much of the season as the star striker, but I've left my striker positions free for a couple other guys, but Brandon Borrello has to be in this team of this season. What an exciting player. He played with such energy. You see him, especially the way he chases the ball. You know, when the opposition defenders have it, he just doesn't stop running. He's got such a fantastic engine. Rarely came off in games too. He often ran out the entire 90 minutes for Western Sydney Wanderers. You know, scored a number of goals throughout this season. You know, just fantastic for him as a player as well. You know, former Socceroo, hasn't been picked for the last few years. Really rejuvenated, you know, his career. Reignited his career back in the A-League. And it's an exciting thing too, because it's proof now, not just Borrello, but the same can be said with Matt Leckie. You know, these guys, they come back to the A-League and they boost their careers, they boost their credibility, and they get themselves back into Socceroos contention. We saw that with Matt Leckie, not that he was falling out of Socceroos contention, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean? He was the star of that recent World Cup. Brandon Borrello getting him back into the Socceroos picture as well. It was just an incredible season from Brandon Borrello at Western Sydney Wanderers. I'm going for Aidan O'Neill, another easy choice here. Best defensive midfielder in the league, just the way he controls the play for Melbourne City It's unlike anyone else in the competition. And getting forward as well too. He scored some really fantastic goals this season, Aidan O'Neill. And of course, another player who has earned a well-deserved move over to Europe and a Socceroos call-up as well from this past season. Aidan O'Neill, not much else to be said there. There's more conversation around the other central midfield position, but I've gone for Josh Nisbet from Central Coast Mariners. I thought he was incredible this year. His best season in a Mariners shirt. And it's just getting better and better with each year. And is one of those players who I think, again, sort of flies under the radar. We're talking about, O'Neill a bit more, Berisha from Melbourne City. We're talking about Neuenhoff from Western Sydney Wanderers. Josh Nisbet, so consistent. And again, you think of the performances, especially towards the end of the season, the final series, even in that grand final, the way that he plays with no fear and goes into tackles, wins the ball, wins possession, moves it forward. He has fantastic pace, fantastic agility. What an exciting player that the Mariners have. And look, I wouldn't be surprised if he earns a move overseas sooner rather than later. I've gone for Josh Nisbet, though, in my team of the season in middle. And then left mid, yet another easy choice here, has to be Craig Goodwin, the Johnny Warren Medal winner, which was no surprise. For me, he's one of the greatest players in A-League history. I mean, double digits in assists, double digits in goals, and for a number of seasons now has just performed so well. Some could argue that he sort of carries the Adelaide United side. I don't think he does, but he is a massive factor to their success over the last few years, and his leadership as well. You can tell just in the last couple of seasons, wearing the captain's armband, the way he leads this team, week in, week out, is you can just see it on the pitch. He's leading from example by scoring those goals and providing those assists. Easy choice here on the left wing, Craig Woodman. Now it's time to jump into my strikers, and first of all, has to be Jamie McLaren. Became the A-League's all-time greatest goal scorer this season, the Melbourne City striker. Fantastic campaign once again, and winning the Golden Boot, of course. Easy choice, has to be Jamie McLaren. Obviously, there's some people who talk about, whether it's just tap-ins and penalties. But look, he's a player who consistently, year in, year out, scores goals. He's so reliable, and did it once again for what was a fantastic Melbourne City side this year. McLaren up top. And then alongside him, again, maybe a couple different options here, but I've gone for Jason Cummings. Became the highest ever Mariners goal scorer in a single season, beating Danny McBreen's record, scoring 20 goals. Jason Cummings, fantastic. And potentially it's the last time we've seen him play in a Mariners shirt. Jason Cummings set to move overseas by the sounds of things. But another just incredible campaign for Cummings, who was the second top goal scorer in the league this year. And of course, we have to talk about that grand final hat-trick. I mean, what a stage to score a hat-trick on and show it big time for your team. Absolutely incredible. Jason Cummings, he has to be in the team of the season. Time to jump into my bench, though. And so here's sort of some honorable mentions for the team of the season. Some players who easily could have slotted in there as well. For the goalkeeper, I've gone for Joe Gauchi. Fantastic here for Gauchi, earned his Socceroos call-up. Defense, Marcelo and Curtis Good, two incredible central defenders, had great seasons for their respective clubs. I've gone for Callum Neuenhoff in that midfield. He was the other one that I wanted to put in this team of the season. I thought he was incredible this year for Wanderers. On the bench for me. Sam Silvera, I've put him on the bench as well, especially the way he finished off the campaign. His grand final performance was massive. Sam Silvera deserves a shout out in this team of the season. And of course, Leckie up top as well. I know he missed a chunk of the season, and I was considering putting Marco Tilio, his City teammate, in there, but Matt Leckie, massive output again from him this season despite his injuries. And then lastly, Oscar Zawada, a shout out from Wellington Phoenix. Zawada coming in, settling in really well at the New Zealand-based club, scoring a great number of goals as well for the Knicks. Zawada, really solid season. So there is my team of the season. Drop yours in the comments below. Would love to hear your team of the season. So see if there's any changes from mine, and we can discuss that in the comment section below. If you have enjoyed, make sure to hit like on the video to show your support. My name is Lockie. This is Coastward Football. See you guys in the next one. Cheers.